uh, um, more levels. But I like this one because it's got a needle, like the old ones, a needle which swings back and forward, okay? So chromatic tuner, okay? So most harmonicas are tuned not to 440 these days, but for 442. Also, before I go on, you need a tuning schematic, and this was my difficulty when I started tuning, to try and find a tuning schematic, right? Or scheme of tuning. So here is one. And I got this from a bloke called Bob Magnolite. He's an American guy, which probably got an unusual name. Sorry. So I got that from him. I think you can find this online. I'm sure you can. I think it's on Google Pages. You know. So
Rollo, what does it say on there? What's it?
So look, this 7-limit intonation, just intonation, was used on all Hohner diatonics. Except for the Golden Melody and solo tune harps until 1985. So if you were playing the harp before 1985, was I? Yeah, I was. But mainly, I would have used this tuning, right? 19 limit, just intonation, which was used on marine bands. Yeah, pre-1990. Okay. So that's really when I started playing the harp, and so my harps would have been tuned to 19 limit just intonation. And then you've got tunings for other harps here, right? So I'm going to use 7 limit would have been like what the harps Little Walter was playing, Walter Horton, would have been tuned to 7 limit, okay? So I wish we had a photocopier in this building, but you know, if you've got a smartphone, there you go, you know, there it is. Really useful, because as you'll see on these, for example, on the blow reeds, my one blow is tuned exactly to pitch, right? So 0 on your tuner. Then my two blow is -14. Okay, so you're thinking that's flat, that's really flat. Yes, it is, but it's going to make that chord. My 3 blow is tuned +2. So +2 from 0, 2 cents more than 0. Okay, and that makes that chord sound true. Okay.
Right. So you've calibrated it to be 0 on the one note.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've calibrated this to 442. 440 is apparently constant pitch, but 442 is what marine bands are tuned to these days. I think.
So is this a C harp? Or?
This one's a B flat. This one's a B flat. In fact, I could get a C harp out because that one needs tuning.
And what about that? What about if the guitarist is on 44 hertz? Or do you
He's on 440. The guitarist always tunes to 440.
And it doesn't conflict with that you do, because you always bend it a bit more.
Yeah, exactly that. Because as harmonica players, we're always, pushing quite a bit, and so you're always going to flatten a little bit. Yeah. So some people like 7 limit because the tones are a little bit flatter, and harmonicas which were tuned to 7 limit just intonation. This information isn't like essential for you at the moment. What you really just need is a schematic. But these harps will sound a little bit. They'll sound a little bit different to the harps you're playing now. So if you get a harp that's tuned like this in the old style way, it's going to sound different, and you're not going to be used to it. And you can think that note's too flat. I'm not used to that. Like the 3 draw on these 7 limits is 12 cents, 12 steps below the 0, okay, which is going to sound flat. Okay, so I'm going to take.
Right. Isn't it a case that if you're playing more tone blocking, more second position, you would go for the top one there? The
right,
unit?
Possibly, yeah.
Because then you're getting those chord tones which are going to sound sweet. And not beats.
Yes. So there's another tuning here called equal temperament. Okay, and equal temperament is where like the notes are tuned similarly. All the reeds rather are tuned similarly to each other, and that tuning's better for like not chordal playing, but for single note playing, like lip pursing playing. Okay, so you'll hear a lot of people, if you've heard of P.T. Gazelle or even Jason Ritchie, he'll use that tuning a lot because it's a tuning which allows him to play as a soloist, with all the notes perfectly in tune. Whereas if he was playing chordally, those notes won't match with each other. Okay, so let's try this one. No, this one. Right, that was fine. And I don't know if you can hear already, but that one sounds slightly flatter than the first one. So when I'm tuning, I was drawing the 4 draw then and the 1 draw. When I'm tuning the octaves first, so the notes that match. Right, so I need this to sound perfect, and at the moment it doesn't sound perfect to me. The top of that octave sounds slightly flat. So here we go. So try not to drop your harmonica while you're doing this, because if you do, what you can do is knock the reeds out of place, and then you have to recenter them. Recentering reeds is a pain in the butt because it takes ages, and you have to use a light box and make sure. Well, I'll show you when I open the harmonica. It's hard. Okay, so although this seems arduous and time-consuming, this provides you with a load of awareness about your instrument, how it works, why it goes out of tune. You know, when you take your harmonicas apart, you'll see how filthy they are inside. And I'm being a bit brave to show you how filthy mine are, but you know, just for one thing gives you an idea of how you play. You'll see a load of residue on one of the notes. You know, I bet it'll be your 4 draw.
How do you clean them?
So I'll get into that as well. Loads of people use these, like you can find this out online as well. Loads of people use these cleaning machines. Oh, this is not too bad. Happy days. So loads of people use a cleaning machine, electrolytic cleaner, I think it's called. They put all the bits in a box with some like fluid on it. I don't know what it does. You know, they take it out again and it's clean. Anyway, I don't do that. I get a toothbrush and a little bit of mild soap, and I clean with the direction of the reeds on both sides of the reed plate. Okay. So here's our blow plate on top, always on top. Our blow plate with the reeds facing down, and there's our draw plate. Okay, with the reeds facing up on the bottom. So this was the note which I identified as flat, and you can see, because they're a bit shiny, I think you can probably see that I've already tuned some of these reeds. So just basically, right? If a reed is flat, if the pitch is flat, just like a guitar string, it's because it's not vibrating fast enough. So if a guitar string's flat, we twist the peg to tighten it, so it speeds up, so the vibration speeds up. Same, if this isn't vibrating fast enough, it's because the reed's got too much weight on it at one end, this end, if it's flat. So I shave a bit off this end to make it vibrate faster, to bring the pitch back up. Okay, so that's just like the science bit. If it's sharp, I'll take a bit off the other end to slow the vibration down. Yeah? So, we identified that the draw reed 4 was flat. So what I'm going to do is take my feeler gauges and put them under the reed, like this. Then I'm going to get my magnifying glass, because my eyesight's so terrible. But, oh, I haven't got it. So I'm going to stare at this until I can see him. And I'm off the very tip of this reed. Now I can see it. So obviously you have to get a place in the light where you can see it. I'm bending this reed up very slightly and shaving a bit off the end to bring the pitch up. Okay? Very important, after you've done this, ping the reed. See if it's flying off it. Now, as you can hear that noise, bang, it's not resonating, okay? So what I would do if I was doing this thoroughly would be to take that reed plate off, hold it to the light, and make sure that the reed is centered in the hole. So here's the hole, here's the reed. It's got to be dead in the center. If it's hitting the sides, it's going to make that sound, okay? It could be that I've shaved it to an extent where it's actually protruding over the hole. And so I'd shave a bit off that end if that was the case, off the very tip of the reed. Okay? I don't think that's the case with this one. I just think it's probably a little bit off center. Okay, so that having been said, I'm now going to check it against the tuner. And I still see that it's below 0. Okay, so that needs some more taking off. And to reference, I'm going to look at this and I see that my 4 draw needs to be +4. So 4 cents above 0. If anyone wants a copy of this, I'd be really happy to go and find a place to photocopy it or whatever. You know, I'll give you all a copy, or you can find it on Google Pages. You know, but I think, you know, obviously, if you're going to start tuning, you need this. Okay, so again, this needs to go further. So I'm going to take my feeler gauge again, get it under the reed. This is 0.20, right? And this is what I gap my harmonicas to. I like the gap to be fairly big because I play medium hard. I play quite hard, and I don't want the reed to choke up while I'm playing it. So this is how I gap it up. And once you buy some feeler gauges, you'll see that you get different thicknesses on them. Yeah. So let's try and get this back into pitch.
Right, how much pressure are you putting on there? Are you being really gentle with that, or are
Not
you
really. I'm
putting a bit of force in?
yeah. You know, I'm trying to get the amount of brass off that I need to.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm trying to use, you know, the extent of this file, but also I'm pushing a little bit. Yeah.
So you're just filing in the direction of the reed, you don't file like against the grain.
Exactly. Some people turn the harmonica around and do it that way, but I found that when I do that, I always bend the reeds up and it destroys the reed.
I echo that. I've
Right.
tried it the other way and it doesn't
No
work.
good.
The way that Rollo's doing it is much better, much safer.
Safer, exactly. So it depends. Also, the pressure depends. I'm going to be, depending on how out of tune it is, I'm going to be persistent with the pressure if it's really out of tune. Having said this, if a reed is like a tone out of tune, it's probably dead. Okay, but this one's savable, I hope. Bang! All right, so now that's similar to the first one, yeah? And the top one. Okay, so that harmonica, 20 years ago, I would have chucked it in the bin. So, or just left it on the side and thought, oh, that's no good anymore. But it is good. It is good. Just because the reed's gone a little bit flat doesn't mean it's not savable. Okay. So same.
How do you centre them?
Oh, centering.
You didn't.
Who? Bill, you had a tool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got one as well, but mine's not as good as Bill's. Bill's got a steel one. This Honer provides you with this brass tool, which is rubbish because it bends, right?
This one, I need to find out where you got this one. This looks much better.
Right. You look at Bill's. I think Bill made this.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
So look at what he's done.
Robin, if you give me yours, I'll make it for you. I'll come on.
What about me?
I'll do one for you.
What about the rest of us?
You should start a little
Okay,
business.
so listen, Bill will tell you how to make one of these rather than to make one for everyone. But it's the same as mine, but Bill's is made of steel, which is ultimately much better because it's durable. And what he's done is make that to the exact size of that square nut on the end of the reed. Mm-hmm. Yeah? Now, as everyone who's doing this already will tell you, this is a finite job, you know, and if your reed isn't centered, trying to get it back to center, you know, because it's so small, you take a long time. Oh no, it's off. Oh no, not there. So you'll know when it's there because you ping your reed, and it'll sound resonant, not that one. That one. You hear that?
When you get used to it, you can really hear the difference. You know when it's
Right.
You'll know it's really.
So hear that one, for example, that's better, right?
Reverb tone.
Yeah, it's resonating. Okay? And it's the sound continues after I've pinged it. Yeah? So that's what you want all your reeds to
But the
sound
little
like.
ones will presumably resonate less anyway.
Oh, the small ones will resonate less anyway, for sure, for sure. Yeah, so that's no good either. Right, so I'm going to tune this 2-draw. That's really nice, Bill. I'm very impressed with that. How did you do it? You cut it out with a what?
I have a grinding thing on my drill press, so I used it to cut that slot. I'll make you one.
Excellent. Excellent work. Well done. So the point about this is, right, just like with learning the harmonica and playing the harmonica, you can do this from YouTube, and you can look people up on YouTube and go, I can't ask him questions because he's on the screen, right? Which is sometimes frustrating. So learning off YouTube is good. Learning this stuff, you can learn it all off YouTube as well. And the information about it and how to do it and how to do it and how to do it. But I think this is good because you can see me doing it. You can ask me what you want about it. And you can see my harmonica, right? You can see that I filed that and it's brought it back to life, right? Which I think's like magic. I just think it's great to be able to do it. There's a guy.
You take too much off.
Then you've gone too far, and then you need to shave off this end. Okay, so sorry, I should show you how to do that as well. Let's see if I can find one that's too sharp. Oh. No. Alright, there's not one that's too sharp, so I'm not going to try and detune one. But if I've got one that's too sharp, I'll show you. I'm going to try and find a thinner gauge, like this one, much more bendy. It's going to fit all the way under my reed, like that, almost all the way to the end. Right? Then I'm going to turn it round like this. And then Joe Falisco taught me this, not personally, but I picked this up off him. I used to flatten the pitch, I used to shave across the reed like that. Right? And I don't do that anymore because it weakens the reeds. Now what I do is shave the sides. We're not talking about embossing, we're talking about shaving the sides. So I wish I had my magnifying glass, but just on the edge of the reed as it hits the end, I'm trying to shave, say...
Is it right near the rivet?
Yeah.
That, as close as that?
Exactly,
rivet, yeah.
right? So from the rivet to maybe 2/3 of the way up the reed.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm shaving all the way down from the rivet to 2/3 of the way up. Both sides. Yeah. Both sides.
And that you really mean off the side, so if it was like a box shape.
So if it's...
Right off the side, not
here,
take it off
but
there.
here.
So off the top of the reed.
Top.
But at the side of the reed.
Exactly.
Not off the edge of the reed.
Not the side, yeah. On the top.
But off the top, but on the sides, either side of the rivet.
And that'll keep your reed strong, but it will detune it,
Because the central bit, the centre of the reed is still as thick as it ever was.
Right, exactly, exactly. Yeah. So, look, I mean, the reason this is important is because it'll save you hundreds of pounds. And also, it'll give you, oh yeah, I was going to shoot that 2-draw. Also, it'll give you an awareness of your instrument until you know by ear, much more instinctively if it's in tune. And that to me, as any instrumentalist, is essential to be able to hear if your instrument's in tune. Yeah.
And how often do you replace yours?
How often do I buy new ones?
Yeah.
I bought a C harp on Thursday. I haven't done that for maybe a year.
But there's a point about that is that players like me, who aren't as technically proficient as Rollo, I blow reeds a lot more regularly than Rollo would.
All right.
That's a technique thing.
Now we need to look at why. Why?
Yeah.
Why do we put reeds out of tune? Who's got an answer?
Too strong a
playing too hard.
Playing too hard, yeah.
Any other reasons you can think of? Why would your reeds go out of tune?
Dropping it on.
Spit.
Spit, yeah.
Stop spitting in your harp so much.
Yeah.
You know,
Write that down real quick.
control that if you can.
Don't drink too much.
Don't drink sugary stuff.
Sugary stuff.
Don't
Beer.
eat peanuts. Don't eat crisps. Crisps and peanuts are your worst enemy as harmonica player.
You mean right before playing, or
Yeah.
never again in
months.
life? I think I'll give up blues.
But if you've got teeth, that nastiness
Yeah,
gets
right.
stuck up in your teeth, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and not like, you know, we all brush our teeth, I know that, but, you know, like, even the day before, and I brushed my teeth and I was eating some nuts, and it ruined my harmonica on a gig, and I was like, oh, no. So I just gave up eating it, you know. But, yeah.
So the then where that takes you, if you're like me and you break reeds a lot, is you then go a step further and you can actually replace single reeds.
For sure,
But it's
for sure.
harder work.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's,
And I think, Bill, you've just started doing that as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I don't do that
once
myself.
you get used to it, it's not too bad. It's like the first couple of harps.
First couple of harps.
How
ruin
often
it,
do you
and then
clean
after
your-
that it
your-
gets better?
After every gig?
When do you know it's
Or-
better, it's more worth it to replace the
Some
whole
people do it
reed
after every gig, don't they?
Some people clean their harps after every gig. So Steve Weston, right? I know that Steve Weston will have his harmonicas apart after every gig.
Yeah.
I know he does, right? And at the beginning of gigs, you see him tinkering with them and all that. So I don't take them apart after every gig, but I'll clean them every month. Yeah.
I don't suppose you recommend poking a cotton bud in it.
No.
Oh,
That's
No.
fine. That's fine.
definitely not.
Yellow card, red card.
Even toothbrushes, you've got to be careful because they get caught in. Don't they?
That's right.
Yeah.
So with a toothbrush, if you're brushing along, for example, if I was brushing up the reed with a toothbrush and the bristles get caught underneath the reeds and I can't get it out, I'm in trouble. So I'm really trying to just brush along the thing. So what I'll do to clean my harmonicas is to take the reed plate off, and run it on some warm water first, then get a little bit of soap on my toothbrush and brush all the dirt off, right? That usually works. And on this one, there's no residue, which I'm happy about.
Can I suggest something better than soap? Mouthwash, Listerine.
Huh?
A solution that you put in a dish, a solution of that. It doesn't have to be very strong. And you just put them, let them soak in, and the stuff just starts coming off.
Ah, because it's got alcohol in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's,
Or
as you say, it
isopropyl
cleans your
alcohol.
teeth. It'll
Sure.
cleans these.
Sure. Yeah, good idea.
That's good stuff.
Good idea.
Sorry, go on. I was just going to say, it's worth mentioning as well that Rollo has played with his harp so that he has screws in them.
Right.
Whereas standard marine band would be nailed together.
Right.
The problem with that is that you can prise the covers off, and you can do everything that Rollo's doing.
If you play marine bands,
When
you
you
need to
replace-
customise them before you do that.
Yeah.
They need to be customised.
But the deluxe has the screws.
The deluxe has the screw.
Yeah.
And most other modern harps have screws together.
Special 20.
But what I do, I don't buy deluxes because they're too expensive, and I can do what Hohner do to a deluxe on my own. So yeah, thanks, Robin. Like you said, when I get a marine band, so that C harmonica I bought the other day, I got my drill and drilled out the edges. So they come with tiny nails in them, which are useless ones. You're taking it apart.
So old-fashioned, isn't
Yeah,
it?
well, you can't put it back together.
Yeah.
Because once you put it back together, it's like a
Loose.
limp sandwich.
Like the IKEA part.
Right, so I drill out the edges, put screws in them, and I take all the nails out the reed plates as well, and put screws in there and drill them through, and then it's accessible. I can take it apart, put it back together. You know, I can clean. I also sand down. I flatten the wood by sanding it, and this one I've rounded it that way, and taken a bit off the edges as well.
So you prefer wood combs?
Absolutely.
Ah.
What size screws do you use for the plates? Because I didn't know.
For the plates,
Yeah.
they're two M2 screws. M2.
And for the covers?
The covers, I bought some from China,
You can use
off
anything.
the Chinese eBay. I looked into a company in Wolverhampton who could have made me these screws. I sent them, these are Marine Band Deluxe screws, so I sent them a set of these, and I said, how much to make me a load of these? And they came back and said, oh, £1,000 for, I can't remember how many, 200. I thought, what? So I went to China, or looked into buying them from China, and they charged me much less, and they're 3mm. 3mm, they're called, this is called, in America it's called a sex bolt and mating screw. That's what they're called. It's not my fault, we're just called that, right? So yeah, 3mm, and they fit into each other beautifully. But they're good for these because they hold them together securely, and with a marine band, it, like a deluxe, it makes it a much more playable instrument. It makes it a more...
What size hole are you drilling?
in here,
Yeah.
that's a...
3.5 or something?
Yeah, I think that's a 3.5mm hole, yeah. Or maybe I just use a 3mm bit and just like make it a bit, you know.
Yeah, just remix slightly, yeah.
What size hole in the for plates?
For the plates, that's 2mm. Well, listen.
The M2 screw.
Yeah, so 2 one side on the top,
Yeah.
and 1.5 the other, and then I use a tap, you know, to make the thread in the bottom, in the draw plate, you know, in this plate. So 1.5 here, 2mm here, yeah, and that securely pushes it together, right?
So when you're holding the reed plates on by creating a thread in which plate?
The bottom plate.
Bottom plate.
Yeah, the draw plate. Yeah.
Do you? Sorry,
go on.
I was just going to say, do you do anything to make the overblow to the harmonica to make the overdraws and overblows easy?
I don't overblow.
Okay, fine.
That's
your
not.
gap might be wider than some people's would be. Because they're not
Yeah. So for overblows, you need a smaller gap, right? So that you can choke that blow reed. I believe that overblowing, I mean, you have to ask our friend here, but I believe that the technique for overblowing is to choke the blow reed, and you're actually blowing the draw reed, you know. So you choke this reed up, so it's not playing, it's not sounding. Is this right?
I can tell you, it's like you have to have a gap, but not too small, because when it's too small, it's going to block and no sound will be.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's have to be the smallest as possible. You have to feel it. You have to check it every time you make it small.
Right. So listen, I don't overblow because it's not a principle, but because I didn't learn to play like that, and if I want to play chromatically, I'm going to play the chromatic harmonica. That's why I don't overblow. I'm not saying that that's a principle anyone should stick by.
Piano Box said the same thing.
But if you want to learn to overblow on these, I think there's loads of possibility which has been demonstrated already, right? And there's a really lovely player called P.T. Gazelle in America, who's a jazz player, and he plays all sorts of really lovely stuff with overblows.
No, I thought he was a valve player.
He plays valves as well, but man can
Does he
overblow.
as well?
Yeah.
Are there any other reasons why reeds might go out of tune? Because it's my.
Sorry.
I've broken all my 5 reeds in all my marine bands. The 5 reed is gone, which we hardly ever use for bending.
Well, your 5. What
overblow.
note's the 5? Someone tell me what in numbers. What note? It's the 7. Yeah, it's note 7. So it's like your 2 draw bend. So it's a beautiful.
The 5 reed.
Yeah, 5 draw, right?
The 5.
This is the A. It's just before the G again starts, so it's the 7th.
Oh wait, am I wrong?
Scale. Oh no, you're right.
I'm
No,
right.
you're right.
But
So-
also because it doesn't bend.
Yeah.
Sometimes
People are trying to bend it. Yeah.
It does bend slightly, but then it
You
should.
don't need to
7.
bend it
This
because
is
it's
the
already a
7.
flat 7.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So.
You say that we instinctively try to bend it. Anyway.
Well, it could be because you're trying to bend it, but it also, for me, you know, with those 4 5s, people are using them as their power notes. Because it's a big, strong sound getting out the 4 draw and the 5 draw. And people are going, yay! Love that one, and you're loving it too much. That's all.
I'm loving my 5 too much.
Stop loving the 5.
You have a
It's much
predilection
easier
towards
than
it, you know what I mean?
3.
I get the sex
You've got to fall out.
mating skills.
You've got to fall out of love with it a little bit and try some other notes. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. And it's probably the technique of how hard you're playing that note as well. And sorry to say, but you know, you're probably playing it too hard. which is why you're pushing it out of tune. And all of us, for me at the moment, my 2-draw is the one I'm putting out of tune most, right? Or choking up most, because I'm loving it too much. I'm loving my 1 chord so much, and my technique, I'm choking those notes up too much. So what I'm thinking about is the gap. So gapping, here's another important thing. I'm looking along the harp, and I'd be much, this would be much easier if I have my use a magnifying glass to look at this stuff, because my eyes are bad. But the gaps, this is how most people describe it. At the rivet end, you want your gap to be almost flush. Okay, so you don't want very much gap at all at the rivet end, and then it should do this as it goes up. Okay, so that sort of idea as you're coming away from the rivet.
So you don't want it straight, you want that curve in it.
Right. Yeah, and the most part of the gap should be at the mouthpiece end, right? So that said, as you're going up the harmonica, those gaps should decrease slightly as you're coming up to the smaller reeds. Yeah? So the largest gap should be from, let's say, from 1 to 4, and then as you go up, they're getting smaller. Okay, so to gap, I'm putting the what's this called? Gauge under the reed. I'm holding the reed down halfway along, and I'm just bending it up and holding it there, because these will take a little while to respond to, to being held like that. Obviously checking as I'm going along.
That's the thinnest feeler gauge you've got.
This is the thickest one I've got.
Oh, the thickest?
Yeah. So I'm making sure that this 0.20, I think it is. I'm making sure that fits under every reed, at least to reed 5.
Is that quite a big gap?
It's quite a big gap, yeah. That's quite thick. But I mean, bending it's not that easy.
I mean, relative to how they would come, or how.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like for example, when I bought my C harmonica the other day, I took it out before I modified it because I needed to, because my other one was out of tune, and took it out as a nailed together piece of marine band from the shop. Every note from 1 to 5 was choking up as I was playing it because of the way I play. And that's not the harmonica's fault necessarily. If I was going to be really gentle with it, it may not have choked up. But I'm not like that, and so I found myself choking, particularly 3-draw, particularly. And I next day I got it home and gapped it, and made sure that this fit under every reed.
And it was fine after that?
Absolutely fine.
So you put your thumb on the reed, at the base of the reed, so it doesn't go too far.
Exactly. So that I'm not gapping the rivet end of the reed.
Oh, right.
I'm not gapping that.
You're just.
I'm gapping this front part.
Just the front part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you don't want to bend it.
So that will affect slightly affect the tuning. Okay. So sometimes when you gap a harmonica, you find, oh no, my reeds have gone a bit flat. So again, when you've done that, you're starting to think, okay, well now I've done, my reeds have gone a bit flat because I've done that. I'm just going to tune them up to the point where I want them, and you get used to the idea of gapping in balance with tuning. Yeah, and this sort of stuff, it seems like a lot, right? But you all could be doing this, really. I know, probably some of you got jobs and that. Right? But like an hour or 2 of an evening would sort out your old harmonicas.
Sorry, I was going to say, for blow reeds, do you need to take it apart?
I do. I do. Well, some people will do that by like this, by taking a small thing, bending up the reed like that, putting a gauge under it, and filing that edge. That's not worked for me. I've not found that effective. I've not found that effective at all. In that it destroys the gap. When you start putting the pressure on the reed of filing it, and you're bending it, the opposite way it needs to be bent. The gap should be that way, obviously, on the blow reeds. Yeah. So it destroys that gap. But yeah, when I'm tuning the blow reeds, I take the whole plate off. Yeah.
If you try it the way that some people do, it's really awkward.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to do something drastically wrong.
Absolutely.
If you take the plate off, so you have to put it all back together again to test it.
Yeah. Well, no.
Just hold it together.
Hold it together.
Do you clean it with a toothbrush
Just
on
hold
both sides
it.
inside out?
So when do you know that it's really worth it to replace the whole series of reeds? Because I think they come in a set, right?
They do come in sets. They do come in sets. I've never, do you know, I've never bought a new set of reeds. Like sometimes I'll take 2 harmonicas in the same key. So look. Sometimes I'll take 2 harmonicas in the same key and I'll replace like either the blow reeds or the draw reeds, right? I'll replace one plate. But usually, excuse the state of this, it's my spit, so you know, so I don't mind doing that. Yeah, but what I do definitely to tune this blow reed is take it off. When I need to check it, put it back together. I can see that blow falls a little bit out, but a little bit, not much. So I tune that, you know, I'll do that right now, right? Also the gap's not too great on that.
Is what you say, 0, 20?
Yeah, that's my preference. So, you know, they go down, obviously they go down in increments, but you know, my preference is to have them there.
I've found when I've done some gapping that I feel that it settles back to where it was when I started at this. And I need to go back and gap again.
Right, so you have to give them time to settle, exactly. Well, point well made, right? Because if you don't give them time to settle and you think, oh, still not in tune, still not in tune, you know, maybe this will take like a few hours to settle because you're putting pressure on this brass, which is soft metal. Okay, so you have to give it time to like you say, settle and to normalise.
And can you play them while you're waiting for that, or should you not?
It's probably best not to, because what you're trying to do is let it get back to temperature, you know, room temperature, and the settling is part of, you know, the friction that you've been putting on these reeds has heated them up, yeah? Because you've been so what we're trying to do is let them get back to normality, right? So I'll take, you know, I've just taken quite a lot off that blow reed, and I think probably too much. So I'm going to leave that now, whether it's saying the same thing or not. Yeah, that's the back, you know, and I just sandwiched it back together, and now I'm going to put the screws back in, and you know, or if I can check the whole thing, I put the screws back in and say, yeah, that's done. You know, so check all my octaves first, tune all the octaves so that your octaves are sounding true. Yeah. What else can I tell you about that?
This might sound like a stupid question, but I've never seen a harmonica take part of that.
Right.
If you play it now with a bend, will we be able to see something happen?
That's a great question.
Great question. I don't know.
Yeah.
See it bending? It should be this reed. How can I show you?
Oh yeah. It's very strong. Yeah.
Right.
Where is it going? This way?
Yeah?
What happened?
I should be physically bending the reed inwards.
Yeah, it looked like it was bending a long
Oh,
way
do it
in.
again, do it again.
That's just my eyes.
My eyes don't like
You
that.
love CSI, don't
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's quite hard to bend
That's
on
amazing.
in this state. I'm trying my best for you. But yeah.
Good video.
Right.
YouTube.
Now listen, this has already been done. David Barrett's site. David Barrett's a wonderful man, and one day I'll meet him, but he's done loads for the development of our understanding of the harmonica. And I say this in this context because David Barrett commissioned an MRI study on someone bending a note. And the reason this was so wonderful for me was because as a teacher, it sort of confirmed what I've been saying for years anyway, which was that when you're bending a note, when you're playing a natural note, okay, your tongue's here, you know, you make a oh, you know, throat singing sort of, you know, that idea. You make it a big chasm, so as you're not choking up the reed. When we're bending a note, we're trying to choke the reed. So if here's the bottom of my mouth, there's my tongue when I'm playing a natural note, especially the two draw. I don't know if you all have ever tried to show someone how to play a two draw on the harmonica. Invariably, a beginner will always choke the two draw, always. They can't help it, a beginner. And these days I try not to teach people not to do that. I try and teach them to do that and to play it naturally. Because everyone can bend notes when they start playing the harmonica. You hear people trying to play the two draw like this, right? So that's because their tongue's too high up. Because naturally you don't try and jam your tongue into the bottom of your mouth. So it looks like I'm a, you know, wide mouth frog, right? One of those, right? I'm really trying to drop my tongue. And then this study that David Barrett had commissioned, this MRI, showed the tongue doing this when you bend a note. Yeah, so that is the pure science behind bending notes. That's now, you know, like proven, which is why he's such a great man, because he's proven loads of stuff like this about the harmonica, you know, and that that physical confirmation of what you do to bend a note is, you know, it's like essential to know. That's how everyone does it. I mean, there are other ways of doing it, like choking up your throat and, you know, all this stuff. But that's the most typical way to bend a note. So, like I say, what I would say is, with your harmonicas, especially if you've got an old one that's really, you know, you think, oh, that's not savable. Try. First, take it apart, clean it, take a tuner, check where the reeds are out of tune and where they're most out of tune. And the most out of tune reeds, try filing them first, you know, and try fixing them first. And you'll find that old harmonicas become usable again. It really is a great thing. And for me, it's a great thing because I'm not rich, you know, I can't afford to buy. This is my job, you know, so I can't afford to buy sets of harmonicas, I can't afford to buy new harmonicas, I don't do that, you know. I've had the stuff I've had for years. My amplifier, I've had it for years. My microphone, I've had it for years. I use the same stuff because it works. And that's my principle. Use something that works and make it work again and again and again. Okay? So I think it's as an instrumentalist, I think it's a really important thing to do. Yeah, I do. So questions, come on.
There's one thing that you should do is put all the little screws in a safe place. If you drop them on the floor, they'll go under a sofa and you'll never find it.
Ever again. Ever again.
So,
and you'll kick yourself. Always put the screws.
Put them in a...
What I've really liked about this little bit particularly is the information sharing. I think it's great. People, Robin and Bill, who are tuning their own harps, you know, telling us stuff which I'm not mentioning. Like, it's just great. And you know, that's the power of like I've been talking about all through this, of being in such a large group of harmonica players. You all know stuff that someone else doesn't, you know. The only way of getting the only thing getting in the way of that really is just like not communicating. So communicate.
Just one other question for the experts. I also find I play crossovers and they've got terrible brass screws which fatigue and then fade.
Yes. Yeah.
Any recommendations of what is obviously use a screw with a washer and a nut, but
steel screws.
Steel screws is just it.
Steel. Yeah, I use steel.
I'm finding those are kind of rattling out now. But
yeah. Yeah, I
use the same thing with a crossover actually. I don't know.
Yeah, they oxidise. They oxidise, and brass isn't really a good thing to use. You know, I mean, the reeds are made of brass, but
I haven't thought of changing it.
I think really the best thing to use for the harps I build these days. I use steel reed plate screws. You know, the ones in the back, and steel screws in the edge as well. So as much as I can, I'll use steel. I like the brass reeds because they've got a particular resonance, and steel reeds don't sound the same, right? I don't know if any of you play Seidel harmonicas. Yeah. I've tried them, and I like them, but for me, you know,
I was going to ask about that, the Seidel. If the Seidel reeds are stainless steel,
I think the Suzuki.
How do you manage to shape them?
In the same way.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's still something.
It takes longer, I suppose.
Maybe it takes longer. I've not tried actually.
I haven't done it, but I've heard
It's harder now.
it's a bit of a pain in the neck, but it does take longer, but it's
Right. 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 Yeah.
When you put the screws back in, do you want to put them in as tight as possible now?
Not these ones. I'm just trying to hand tighten these, you know, so that when I mean, I should have a torque wrench, but when it starts clicking, you know, when it starts, I can't turn it anymore. Basically, I'm not trying to, you know. Having said that, with the ones at the edge, I'm trying to get them as tight as I can.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm not, as you can see, I'm not using screws. This is actually a deluxe original, but I'm not using, when I take mine apart, I don't use screws at the end here. So the screws at the end are these ones. Yeah, so I'm really trying to tighten those as much as I can. Yes.
I've got a harmonica which sounds quite airy.
Yeah.
Around 2 or 3.
Right.
What that might be.
What sort of harmonica is it?
It's Marine Band Deluxe.
Right,
I've
deluxe.
had it for longer.
Possibly, probably, it's the gap, right? You
I
guys
would
probably.
say so. That'd be the first
thing.
to check.
The gap's probably too large. Yeah, so
The easiest thing to check anyway.
if the gap's too large, what I'm doing is
Oh, no, sorry, did you say draw?
draw
Two,
three,
three,
right?
draw. blow.
Holes 2 and 3, I can't remember.
2 and 3.
Probably
Airy,
is,
right?
Probably is draw.
Okay, so listen, don't be offended, but it might be a technique.
Probably.
Okay, so what I was saying earlier about getting your mouth on the harmonica,
I find it particularly with that harmonica.
trapping your lips.
airy,
Right, okay. In that case, it's probably the gap. Yeah. And I'd say take it apart, look along the harmonica at the gap. If the gap's too large, I was about to say, where is it? There. Gap's too large, what I'm doing is supporting the reed here, in the middle, and pushing down on the end.
Okay.
Yeah? Pushing down. Until it's visibly smaller. Yeah.
Can you show that once more?
Sure. So, tiny screwdriver. I'm supporting like the middle of the reed there, pushing down on the end of it with my nail. Yeah? I mean it's fairly, it looks rudimentary and it looks like, oh, geez, that's a bit dangerous. But
you do have to be delicate with it.
You do have to be delicate.
Careful,
but we're trying to bend metal, you know, without being Uri Geller. No. No, he couldn't do it anyway. But
and the other way, you just put it through the hole, like you showed some people filing it on the other side.
Right.
Yeah, so it's
right. Yeah. So the thing is, this is, you know, it gives you a massive amount of self-awareness of your playing as well when you start thinking about gapping as well, because you think, but the first time you do this, you think, oh, I've got these gaps all wrong. I don't play like this, right? And then the second time you do it, okay, so that was wrong. And, you know, make little notes on every reed. Yeah.
With the magic pen, you know, felt pen.
No, what I mean is on a piece of paper, say that reed, it needs to be like this, that reed's flat like this, or make notes about the tuning, about the gapping, where it is, where you need it to be.
Can I just add something about gapping? As I see it, and please tell me if you think I'm wrong. What you're actually looking to achieve by that variation in gap, so the gap's bigger at the longer reeds and smaller at the other one, what you're actually trying to achieve is an even response throughout the harp. So all of your draw notes are equally responsive.
Right.
So that you're not having to draw harder or softer on some to get the same volume.
Well, depending. If you want to draw harder or softer.
Well, yeah. But
you know, so
that's what most of the kind of received wisdom is.
No, you're right.
What you're trying to achieve is that actually uniformly along your harp, you've got around about the same level of responsiveness from the reed.
Yes, I'd go along with that absolutely.
Just to be clear, if the gap is too wide, it will be airy.
Yeah.
And if it's too tight, it will be what?
It'll choke up. The reed will stop playing.
Okay.
Yeah. Because if the reed's too close to the plate, so I don't.
You know when you get that. You know you sometimes get a harp where you get a delay before it. So you start to draw, but there's a very slight delay before it starts to sound.
Yeah. That's quite obvious.
That's just really tug on it.
Right, that one could do with a bigger gap, right?
Or
So-
you're not choking on it.
For example, yeah. But you know, so, like, you know, I want to be with my 5 drawer, right? I want to be able to. That one's knackered. No, it's all right. I want to be able to blast it a bit, you know. So I'll make the gap a good size on that 5 drawer, you know, and that possibly will help, like, Zoltan, with your tuning issues. You know, possibly gapping it a bit more will stop it from going out of tune so much. Possibly.
It's a compromise.
Are they
Because then
going out
the
of tune, or
overblaze
are you
won't
breaking
happen.
them? Are the reeds breaking, or are they just going out of tune?
First they go out of tune, then they
break.
Yeah,
Of course.
Yeah, that's it.
So
They've
they
actually
break,
when they
do
start going out of
break
tune,
off,
they're
or
fractured.
do they have
When a reed breaks, right, it's because it's had so much pressure on it. But when a reed breaks, it's got a fracture in it. It's got a hairline fracture in it, and you know you'll know if a reed's going to break because it's so badly out of tune that you can't tune it back. You know, and when you're pinging, doing this, really essential, because every time you ping a reed that's going to break, it'll go ding, 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 it'll get flatter and flatter and flatter, and then eventually it'll go bang. Right? But it's best to do that before it breaks in your mouth. Obviously. Right? So, listen, the thing about
What happens then? It just stops saying anything.
yeah, it'll stop working. It'll stop working. It'll stop working.
When you're paying.
Oh, if you
It'll show up well in the next way.
show up well in the next one. Well, if you suck a reed into you, then none of us want that to happen,
that's
right?
not good.
You know, none of us want reeds in our mouth. So this is another reason why tuning a harp's a good idea. Another reason why it's a really good idea to start thinking about how does this thing work? How am I going to tune it up? How am I going to tune this? Or how am I going to check it? Yeah. So more questions, please.
Is there a way to improve the air tightness on
On a
a
harp.
harmonica generally?
Yeah.
More screws in it.
Yeah. Make sure your gaps are good. Number one. The air tightness, like you were saying, you know, make sure the gaps are good. So, for example, if your 2 and 3 are really leaky, it's because too much air is coming under the reed, right? There's too much gap away from the plate. The reed's too far away from the plate. Okay, so got to make sure that your gap is an appropriate distance for the way that you play that reed. You know, that harmonica, or whatever. Okay, so sounds airtight to me, but it also sounds airtight to me because I'm sealing that hole, right, in a lip pucker way. But you know, got to make sure that your technique is such that you're sealing the hole that you're trying to play.
You hear about people
So
doing
if you
things
go-
to the combs and the reed plates and all of. You hear people doing things to the combs and the reed.
Oh yeah.
But when you look at it physically, it looks sort of. It's probably not. It's not hermetic, but the
But one of the issues you
tolerances they
can-
make them, are they really?
It looks sealed.
Are they
Yeah.
really that bad that you need to start shaping?
Yeah.
the
Well,
wood?
you're putting
Yeah.
4 screws in it, aren't you? Rather than just one screw at each end.
They do vary a lot. Jeff.
So if you haven't got a tune, which I haven't tried to tune it up for.
Get a tuner.
Narrowing that,
But is there but you know that a particular reed is flat.
Yeah.
There should be is there a trial and error process you can go through, which is not a hard way, which is to.
Not without a tuner. I tried to when I was in Ireland. I was telling Bill earlier that Brendan Power, who's another wonderful innovator of the harmonica, he's got a mate called Mick Kinsella, and you can see Brendan playing with Mick on videos on YouTube and all that. Mick was the guy who taught me to tune harps, right? And you know, he said you need this, this, and this. He said you need these, and you need files. And he told me everything I need, and I came back to Ireland the next time I was touring with a nail file and some other shit. He said, no, and without a tuner. And I tried tuning like a couple of harps without a tuner.
How?
Well, by ear.
Yeah. Try. Yeah.
It's impossible.
What do you aim to apps on?
Because you need to be pitch perfect.
What do you aim to apps on phones in terms of
Great,
tuning?
right? I don't know. those tuning apps are pretty good, right?
Mm.
You know, because your phone's got a good microphone and you know it's got a needle like yeah, great. But what you need is something precise. This goes up. This thing goes up in cents, right? So it goes up. What I really like, and my one at home, but as a portable thing, is one that went up in much smaller increments. This one goes up 5 cents, 10 cents. That's no good because you know this is dealing. These schematics here are dealing with like you know -14, +2. So how do you see +2 in like a 5 cent gap? It's hard. Right. So what you really need is something very precise, and you'll see people who do this for a living. They're using strobe tuners and things like these, and really precise tuners. Right. So what I'm trying to do is get something as close to precise as I can. Obviously, you know.
How long have tuners been around then?
How long have tuners been around? These ones?
Yeah.
I don't know. A long time.
At least 20 years.
Yeah.
So before that, then, we were using tuning fork or something?
No. Before that, people were using but it was much more of a mechanical thing, right? So like an analogy would be the metronome and the digital metronome, right? So they were still using something with a microphone in it, but it was something with a needle. You know, an actual needle.
Bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Okay.
they would use them. No,
For sure.
Nobody's ever suggested, look, there is a way of doing it without a tuner.
No. Can't do it without a tuner.
Okay.
All right. Yes, of course you can. So let me put it somewhere else. No. Listen, any more questions you have, folks? I'm here. Right? Anything you want to ask me about playing?